Hi there! In today's short grammar video, I'm going to talk about the past perfect tense, and I'm going to point out the most important things that you need to know about this verb tense. The reason I'm talking about this is because I find that when English learners learn the past perfect, they tend to overuse it, and it often leads to awkward or unclear sentences. So I want to let you know that the past perfect is really not a very important verb tense that you should spend a lot of time learning. You also should not use it a lot, but there are a few situations in which you need to use it, and those are important to know. So first of all, the past perfect is one of many verb tenses that we have in English, but you should know that the 6 most important verb tenses are the simple present, present progressive, simple past, past progressive, the future with will and be going to, and the present perfect, which would include present perfect and present perfect continuous. Past perfect is not on that list. So yes, you need to know it, but you should focus more attention on those other verb tenses first and then learn the past perfect after you've mastered those other verb tenses. So the thing about past perfect is that it shows something that happened in the past before another event in the past. So we only use this verb tense when we are talking about the past and we want to make it clear which things happened first. So again, it would be like when we're telling a story and we want to talk about the past, but then we want to include some things that happened before that event in the past. It's kind of like a past. Another thing you want to think about when you're learning verb tenses is that there are some key words or phrases that we use with certain verb tenses. And for past perfect, you need to know the phrase by the time. Often when we use by the time, we're going to use past perfect, and we don't use by the time with simple past. So if you're talking about the past and you use by the time, you should use past perfect. So let's see an example. By the time the movie started, I had already eaten most of the popcorn. So what does that mean? That means that there's this event that happened in the past, which is the movie started. But by the time the movie started, something else had happened. What was it? I had already eaten most of the popcorn. That always happens to me. I go to the movies and I have to sit there and wait for the movie to start, and I eat my popcorn and it's so tasty that I can't stop. So by the time the movie started, I had already eaten most of the popcorn. I couldn't wait. Here's another example that we might use when we talked about our life in the past. By the time I was 10, I had already moved 4 times. So when I turned 10, I had already moved 4 times. Those things happened before I turned 10. Also, notice that it's very common for us to use the word already to emphasize that something happened or finished when something else started. Another word that we use a lot with the past perfect is when. And when we use when in the past, you want to think that one thing happened before another thing started. So we have a one event in the past. When this event started, something else had already happened. So let's look at my example. I had already eaten most of the popcorn when the movie started. So that means that the movie started. What happened before that? I had already eaten most of the popcorn. This sentence is basically the same as the one I showed you before with by the time. But notice what happens if we change the tense from past perfect to simple past. I ate most of the popcorn when the movie started. So in this case, the meaning has changed. And this is an example of when using the past perfect is important. If we use these 2 events in the simple past with the word when, it means that the 2 things happened at the same time. The movie started and I ate the popcorn. So you can see here how past perfect can become very important. Let's see another example. COVID had arrived when we went into lockdown, or COVID arrived when we went into lockdown. So again, I'm using the word when, and I want to think, did the two things happen at the same time, or did one happen before the other? Well, in this case, I'm going to use past perfect because what happened first? COVID arrived, and then we went into lockdown. So now I have COVID had arrived when we went into lockdown. I might use the word already to emphasize COVID had already arrived when we went into lockdown. I could also change the time word and say COVID had arrived by the time we went into lockdown. Or another thing I could do is I could use the word before. COVID had arrived before we went into lockdown. The words before and after show the order of events in time, and for that reason, past perfect is not necessary when we use the words before and after. For example, if I say the couple went on their honeymoon after they got married, I don't need to use past perfect to show which one happened first, because the word after shows us the order. For that reason, you will notice that when we use the words before and after in the past, we usually don't use the past perfect. It's just not necessary. I hope that this video helped you a little bit to understand past perfect, but the important thing here is that you should not overuse it, and when you do use it, you want to be sure that you think about which thing happened first and use the past perfect with that event. Sometimes I see people switching them and then the other person becomes confused about which thing happened first. Also, make sure that if you use the phrase by the time, you use past perfect, and if you use the word when, you use past perfect if one thing happened before the other. So that's it in a nutshell. If you have questions, let me know. And if you liked this video, please give it a like and make sure that you are subscribed. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon.